Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we're going to do a little bit of a shrub spotlight. We are up here at production and Jerry and I were talking about, there are certain plants maybe that we haven't focused on here recently or talked about. We just want to kind of give you a highlight of those because even though we are in the throes of summer, these are definitely plants that you can, if you want to plant them now, you can. You just have to take a little bit extra care of them as far as making sure they're watered. But definitely for this fall, they would be fantastic to add into your landscape. So we have a little collection here of various shrubs that we are going to go through. Now, the one that catches your eye first maybe is this Limelight Prime. And so Limelight Prime is relatively new to the market in the last, 2 years, I guess. And this is Proven Winners, a little bit of an attempt on like improving the Limelight hydrangea. Limelight, of course, is famous. Everybody knows. It's like the industry standard for the panicle hydrangea. But it can get really big. And as people, have different housing environments and different gardens, sometimes you don't have the space for that big, huge hydrangea. So here is Limelight Prime, which is a smaller, tighter, more compact version of Limelight. Still has those beautiful blooms on it. So Limelight Prime is going to be more narrow and upright than it is wide. So it's really nice to put kind of in tight spaces because it will go more up than out. Nice, strong, sturdy stems on it. Very nice and tight. We pruned this back in like late winter. So it's pruned right here where my finger is, and then this is the new foliage from this year. So on that one cut, we have 3 blooms that are here. So you can tell the oldest bloom, the one that's really kind of coming in now, and then here we have a bud. So you've got a nice array of old, new, still yet to be blooms that are coming out on this. So if you've got that area, depends on where you are. So if you're in a cooler climate, then you can do more sun. If you're in a warmer environment like we are, they can handle the full sun. I've got mine out in full sun, but they're on irrigation. So just kind of keep that in mind. If it's full sun and it's really hot, you're gonna want irrigation. If it's in a southern climate and you don't have irrigation, you're probably gonna wanna give it a little bit of a break from the afternoon. So Limelight Prime, really fun, nice, tight, compact, and even like last night we got a good bit of rain. These blooms are full of water, but you can see that these are not flopping. So that is something to think about. Now you may say, well, Jenny, there are some that are flopping, that are way down right here. Those are the smaller, weaker stems. So that's a great way when you prune this in late winter, take those little small stems out and leave your nice, big, thick ones. That will help give you nice, strong, sturdy structure in your hydrangeas. Now, while we're on hydrangeas, I wanted to point out, because this certainly is not a new plant. This is little lime. But the reason I pulled this little lime is because I wanted to show you that this was pruned later on in the season, probably later than what it really should have been. But because it blooms on new growth, just like Limelight Prime, you're gonna have a gorgeous display of fresh blooms at the end of summer going into fall. So if you miss the window, the quote, perfect window of pruning your panicles, don't fret because they bloom on new growth. So that's okay. And you may even want to do that depending on how many you have in your garden. Maybe you have some that do that first flush and then some that will come in behind it. Because this will be a gorgeous display, like I said, when the rest of the garden's kind of sad and tired looking at the end of summer, this is going to be beautiful creamy white blooms on it and will do really well. Little lime is a wonderful hydrangea. It will get to be, though, like over time, can be like 5 feet tall. So I have some that are like 4 years old. You can keep them maintained anywhere between 3 to 5 feet, but fantastic, fresh new blooms coming to you into the summer. We have one more hydrangea. While we're on the hydrangea kick, we might as well just keep on going. This is Tuff Stuff. Now again, Tuff Stuff is not new to the market whatsoever, but we haven't talked about it a lot. And Tuff Stuff is, gosh, it's been around for a long time, and there are different variations of the Tuff Stuff. So there's like Tuff Stuff Red, Tuff Stuff Aha. So there's like a whole series of the Tuff Stuff. Why do you want a Tuff Stuff hydrangea? Well, Tuff Stuff is a serrata, and serratas are lace caps, so they have a completely different look to it than like our panicle hydrangeas or a classic mop head. So you've got interest there. If you have an area that is too shady for a panicle, but it's too much sun for a mop head, then the serrata might be a good option for you. When we were doing my mama's garden tour just last week, I think it was, she has that area that is that dry area. And so she put Tuff Stuff in there a couple of years ago, and it has done magnificently well. Tuff Stuffs will bloom on that old growth. I think it's old and new growth. I know it's definitely old, but I think it's also new as well. I think it's both of them. So that means, what does that mean to you as the gardener? It means that you don't really need to prune it at all. You need to put it in a place where it can just grow and be happy, because these will be 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. So very manageable. Stick them in a spot where you can just let them go, like in Mama's case, right? She has nothing around that that's gonna impede it. She can just let them go. It is going to be a rebloomer, so it does bloom on the old and the new. That means if you get that late crazy frost and it burns the tips and the buds that are going to be coming, that's okay. You just lost your first flush, but it's going to come back and it's going to bloom again. So Tuff Stuff is great. It is pH dependent, where your panicles are going to be color specific, meaning no matter what your soil pH is, your limelights, your little limes, all those, they're going to be that creamy white. Tuff Stuff, that's serrata, pH dependent, depends on your soil pH level. So they're going to be, for us, if you're more acidic, you're going to be in that kind of that purpley blue. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to be in the pink family. So Tuff Stuff is wonderful. If you've got a big container that you want to put a hydrangea in, this would be a great option to do that as well. And then talking about fall, going into fall, you gotta have candy corn, right? So candy corn spirea is really fun. It gets its name because it has all those different colors coming out. So your older foliage is gonna be that kind of that chartreuse color, greenish with that little bit of yellow in there. And then all your new growth that you can see has that reddish orange tip to it. And spireas are really fun. They are deciduous, so in the wintertime, you're gonna lose your foliage. You can go ahead and prune it back. It does really well if you can prune it back by like maybe a half, because it does bloom on new growth. So that means when you give it a haircut, once it's lost all of its leaves, you could either do it in the winter. It doesn't really matter terribly for us when you do it, but certainly you want to do it before it starts to flush out new foliage in the spring. Give it just a good little shape, just clean up the plant a little bit, make it neat and tidy, blooms on new growth, so it comes out gorgeous foliage. And then it does a really fun, let's see, candy corn does a hot pink bloom. So you've got a hot pink bloom on that, really nice. Of course, your pollinators love it, and it's only going to be about 2 feet tall and wide. So a very manageable size on this one as well. And you can, of course, if you can put it in mass, with this gorgeous color, even when it's not blooming, it will catch people's attention and be like, what is that plant? Candy corn is one of our #1 sellings of spireas because it has that fantastic foliage. So even when it's not in bloom, people don't really care because it's still really, really pretty. So candy corn spirea. If you're looking for fall interest, because we always tell you, go to your nursery at different times of the year and look for things that are of interest at that time, right? So you want to be constantly on a rotation at your garden center to see what is coming up, what is blooming, what is gorgeous. One that is going to be coming into really its own is the Pearl Glam beautyberry. I love this plant. It is a native plant. It is deciduous, so you have one season out of the year where it's naked, but the other 3 seasons you get lots and lots and lots of interest with it. So when it flushes out, you've got really deep purple stems with this beautiful kind of this green, it's a deep green with like purple veining in the leaves. So the leaves themselves are beautiful. But what's fun is, because it does bloom on new growth, so you can shape it up. But Jared, get in here, I want to show you this. So as your plant grows, right, it started down here, and these were the first sets of blooms right here. And then as it grows, it continues to grow, and you have these little sweet little white flowers right here on the tip, right there. So these little flowers were down here weeks or months ago. And as the plant grows, you've got those flowers that keep coming up. Now when the flowers are done, they begin to turn into these little berries. And you can see the further down you go, the bigger the berries are because they're older. It's called a beautyberry. A beautyberry bush, because in the fall, those berries turn the most brilliant shade of purple. They are just electric. So on these stems, you have got these deep, beautiful purple berries that are just exquisite and stunning. So you've got flowers in the growing season, which pollinators absolutely love them. And then you've got those beautiful purple berries, and you've got beautiful fall color. So these are wonderful plants. They will get some size on them, so you can keep them pruned though to whatever size you want because they bloom on new growth. So you can keep them in there. Very versatile, fun, unique interest in your garden. So this is where we're starting to think outside the box, different textures, different interest. Again, not a huge bloom like say a camellia or an azalea, but very interesting. And I guarantee you in the fall, you will be so incredibly grateful that you planted some pearl glam because it is gorgeous. And we've got two more that are fantastic native plants that just add lots of interest to your garden. First off, we have vanilla spice. And vanilla spice, again, it is that native plant. It's got blooms down in here. They are what I call like a bottle brush bloom on it. You can see there's just some older blooms, but vanilla spice has an incredible scent to it. Wonderful fragrance. It is just the common name for this plant is summersweet because it smells really sweet late in the summer. So this is when it's typically going to be blooming, late summer, beautiful creamy white bottle brush blooms on it. Pollinators go nuts over this thing. We're here early in the morning, it's wet, the pollinators haven't awoken from their nightly slumber yet and come up here, but this plant will be buzzing with pollinators. So if you're looking to support your pollinator population and that you want late summer blooms with a lovely fragrance, then vanilla spice is definitely going to be your plant. And then what's really fun too is in the late fall, you're going to have all your foliage, this dark green is going to turn beautiful yellow. So it's still got lots of interest for you, and you can keep them anywhere from 3 to 6 feet tall and wide. So it's going to be a nice substantial plant for you. So you're probably going to want to put it more towards the back of your garden, which is nice because it is deciduous. So in the wintertime, if you've got some evergreens in front of it, it's okay that this is deciduous because it'll be in the back of your garden. You've got other interest in front of it, and then as the summer comes on, it just gets nice and big and beautiful. So vanilla spice is a wonderful plant, a wonderful shrub that you really want to consider adding into your garden for end of summer into fall interest. And then our last one today is Sugar Shack buttonbush. And Sugar Shack buttonbush is a native plant. It will provide solution if you've got a wet area, because buttonbush, it is a native plant that you will find in kind of like roadside ditches, bogs, those wet areas. But the native cultivars can get really large. Sugar Shack is nice and more petite. Still gonna be a good sized plant, 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, but not nearly as big as the natives. It does in the spring, beginning of the spring, throughout the season, it will do little white flowers that really aren't what you think of as like a flower. It looks like something that you would find like under a microscope, really kind of spiky and fun. And then as they mature, they'll turn to red berries. So Sugar Shack is just a really neat, beautiful, substantial size to it. I have a spot over there right near the patio underneath the redbud tree that is just notoriously wet. One, because of the way the irrigation drains, that spot stays wet. And then when we get rain, it just kind of comes through there. So it's in this little channel that stays damp. I had a gardenia in there, and it was just this slow death for that poor gardenia, because you know gardenias hate to have like wet feet. The buttonbush, man, she is happy and she is just going to town. So wet areas, think about this one. It would be a definite option for you, and just really great, fun plant. Lots of options out there for you. So again, if you want to add things now, you absolutely can. Just know it's going to require probably a little bit more work on you, because you're going to have to make sure that they stay well watered and get really well established while we're still in the throes, the dog days of summer, because yeah, it's hot out there. But if you're not ready now, go ahead and make your plans and get them for this fall, because these are great additions to your garden that are going to bring lots of interest. Lots of different solutions with these shrubs. So as always, we hope you have found this fun and informative. Maybe you found a plant that you'd like to add to your garden. We appreciate you. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.